Good morning, all of you. Welcome to our session of discussion of most probable questions from our chapter number 14, ecosystem. Okay, so what are the most important points that you have to remember, you have to study, you have to concentrate on, you have to give thrust on, and the previous year's Neet questions from this chapter will be discussed in this chapter, in this session. Okay, so going to the first question. Species composition. What is species composition? See, ecosystems are all unique. No two ecosystems will be same. They will be having their own individuality, their own specific features. And one of the most important feature by which it is unique, it is different from any other ecosystem, is that species composition. Second one is vertical stratification. What is species composition? What are the different types of species? What is their number? We can calculate them by enumerating the species. What are the different species and their number? So, identification and enumeration of plant and animal species in an ecosystem. In some ecosystem, you may be having the same plant species, animal species, but their composition will be different. What are the varieties of plants? What are the varieties of animals? And what is their number? They can be calculated, they can be studied by taking an enumeration of plants. So we have to identify and enumerate. Okay, take the number of plants and animals. This will be entirely different from one species to another one. So it is giving that unique nature, unique feature of an ecosystem. Vertical stratification is yet another important factor which gives unique nature. Functional component of an ecosystem. We are having the same functional ecosystems in almost all, slightly different physical structure of an ecosystem. No. So only A. Species composition is identified as the number and variety of plant and animal species. No. False statement. A considerable amount of GPP is utilized by plants in respiration. No. What is GPP? Gross primary productivity minus R. What is used for its own activity during respiration? This is called NPP. So, a considerable amount of GPP is utilized by plants in respiration. Okay? Correct. Gross primary productivity of an ecosystem is the rate of production of organic matter, not inorganic. That's why it is wrong. Productivity of different organisms combined by calculating the rate of biomass production, correct? NPP, net primary productivity, is the available biomass for consumption for heterotrophs. See, this is not available for consuming for the herbivores, the one which are not present in the next trophic level. The herbivores will be feeding on the NPP. So NPP is more important in an ecosystem because it is that amount of energy that is available for herbivores to consume. Herbivores and decomposers are heterotrophs. That statement is all correct. So first statement is box. Primary productivity. Okay. That is varying from ecosystem to ecosystem. That depends upon a number of factors. The plant species. See, all plants are not having the same photosynthetic capacity. Their efficiency are all different. So, plant species, variety of environmental factors, GPP will be different if the environmental conditions are all different. Availability of nutrients and photosynthetic capacity of plants. So all of them are playing an important role in determining the GPP. Okay. The GPP of the whole biosphere will be 170 billion tons. But though the sea is occupying 2/3 surface area, is constituting about 55 billion tons. That is only 32%. But land, terrestrial ecosystems, they constitute only 1/3 surface area. Okay, but is constituting for the remaining 115 billion tons of organic matter that is produced. That is about 68%. Why? Because availability of nutrients and the plant species, photosynthetic capacities. So this is a clear indication that the factors are highly different in ecosystems, and that is responsible for differences in the GPP. Annual net primary productivity. Okay, net primary productivity. That is what I was telling you, is 170 billion tons, which is approximately dry weight 170 billion tons of organic matter. Of this, despite occupying 70% of the surface, the productivity of oceans will be only 55, that is only 32%. It constitutes only 32%, whereas the land is occupying the remaining 1/3 area and accounting for the 115 billion tons of organic matter. That is 68%. Available biomass for consumption of heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are getting the NPP, not GPP. This is the amount of energy or organic matter that is stored for consuming by the herbivores. So it is NPP. Okay, so what is NPP? What is left out after they are used by the plants, by the autotrophs? GPP minus R, respiration. So GPP minus R is, here it is GPP minus NPP. This is called R. It is not at all available. It is already lost. Okay, so NPP. That's the correct question. The possible link A in the following food chain. See, this is the plant producer, primary consumer. It's a herbivore. Secondary consumer, frog. Frog will be eaten by the, see, they are all occupying the fourth trophic level. Secondary, this is the first primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, quaternary consumer, top carnivore. So here it can be a snake. Snake is cobra. See, parrot is not eating on frog. It's a herbivore. Rabbit, herbivore. Wolf. See, frogs are not eaten by wolves. Okay. Which one of the following is not a limitation of ecological pyramids? It was Elton, Charles Elton, who created the ecological pyramids. And we are having 3 types of ecological pyramids. And ecological pyramids are all giving you a concise information regarding the nature of that, healthy nature of that ecosystem, but it is having some limitation. What are the limitations? It does not take into account that same species belong to 2 or more trophic levels. In nature, we are having some organisms which are all mixotrophs. They are all herbivores and carnivores simultaneously. They are all mixotrophs. So, these mixotrophs can occupy more than 1 trophic level at the same time. But here, we are taking first trophic level, second trophic level, third trophic level, like that. So, omnivores are not taken into account. That is A. It does not take into account the same species belonging to 2 or more. Who are all occupying 2 or more trophic level? Omnivores. They are not taken into account. Correct. It assumes a simple food chain. It is based upon a simple food chain. But in nature, we are having food web, because so many food chains are connected together by a omnivore. In nature, many organisms are omnivores, mixotrophs. So, they never exist in nature. It does not accommodate a food web. It is based upon the food chain. Then there is one more. Saprotrophs are not given any place. They are given a place. No, saprotrophs are not given any place. Though saprotrophs are, decomposers are playing an important role. They are an important constituent or component of organic or living materials of this world. They are not given any suitable position. Saprotrophs are, see, producers, consumers, and decomposers are the three components of the biotic world or biotic community. They are not given any suitable position. They cannot be accommodated. Can we accommodate here? Then it will be correct? No. It can feed on any trophic level. So, where should be the decomposers? Decomposers are not at all given any position. That is one of the greatest drawbacks of ecological pyramids. Okay, so saprotrophs are given a place. No, they are not at all given any place, though they are all very and play a vital role. Identify incorrect statement regarding secondary succession. What is secondary succession? A succession where life was there earlier, that was destroyed by some reason, and for a second time, life is starting there. Okay, it depends upon a condition of the soil, availability of water, and environment. It does not follow the sequence as is seen in the primary succession. It depends upon a number of conditions. Availability of water, environment. It is much slower. No, it is faster. Why it is faster? Primary succession is slower because soil is to be formed, and soil formation is a very, very slow process which will be taking thousands of years. Whereas here, life existed earlier, so there is some sort of soil. So there is no need of formation of a soil in a secondary succession. That is why secondary succession is faster. So it is slower is the wrong one. It begins in areas where natural biotic communities have been destroyed. So already it was there, but that was removed or destroyed. It can occur in abandoned landforms. Typical example, burnt or cut forest, correct? Lands that have been flooded. So life was there earlier and it was destroyed or removed, and life is starting for a second time again. That's called secondary succession, which is faster. That is the main difference between primary and secondary succession. Out of the total cost of various ecosystem services, Robert Costanza and his associates had calculated what will be the economic value of ecosystem services. The ecosystem is working round the clock throughout the year and it is producing ecosystem services. What will be the value of that ecosystem services? Robert Costanza and his associates for the first time calculated, and 50% of them will be accounting for the formation of soil, which is the most precious product of ecosystem, because 50% is for soil formation, 10% for recreation and nutrient cycling, climate regulation, and habitat for wildlife are 6% each, not 24%. So that is the wrong one. Read the following statement regarding productivity. Primary productivity of all ecosystem is a constant. No, primary productivity will go on changing. Okay, it will be different. It is never same. The annual NPP of the whole biosphere is 17 billion. It is wrong. It is 170 billion tons NPP. NPP is the amount of biomass available for consumption by the herbivores. Herbivores are eating them directly. So it is occupying the second trophic level, not the carnivores. Secondary productivity is defined as the rate of formation of organic matter by the decomposers. Now, secondary productivity is the rate of formation of organic matter by the consumers at the secondary level. That's why it is called secondary productivity. Primary productivity by the producers at the first level. Primary productivity depends upon the plant species inhabiting an area. Correct. So how many of the above statements are true? Only E is correct. So only one. Okay. In secondary succession, invasion of species depend upon. Suppose the life is removed, all the living things are all removed from that area. Life starts again. And that invasion depends upon a number of factors. What are the factors? Condition of the soil. I told you there is already soil. So what is the nature of that soil? Availability of water, environmental conditions available, presence of seeds and other propagules. There may be roots, there may be spores or seeds fallen on the ground which are remaining. That will be acting as the origin of the life the second time. They are called propagules. So all the above. Now, select the statement regarding primary succession. See, life is originating for the first time and it is in a predicted form, slow but predictable form. Life is changing. The communities are all coming and going. It occurs in a newly cooled lava. It can be. Okay, so it is hierarchical succession. It occurs in bare rock, dry, it is dry, so it is hierarch. It occurs in a newly created pond, hydrarch, okay, in watery medium. So these are all typical examples for primary. Establishment of new biotic community is fast. Now it is very slow. Why? There is no soil. Soil is to be formed. That's why it is very slow. Soil is not necessary for establishment. No, soil is very, very essential for the establishment of new biotic community. It takes natural process of several hundred to several thousand years to produce fertile soil, correct, on the bare rock. That's why it is very, very slow. These are the stages of succession in a newly created pond or reservoir. Hydrarch succession. Okay, different stages. So here only 2 are correct, 3 and 6. Here regarding false statements, we have to, it is 4 and 5. So 4 and 5. Match the following. We are having the trophic levels as energy flowing from sun. Energy is first coming to the plants. Plants are capable of converting that solar energy into chemical energy. They are transducers, energy transducers. Okay, they are producers. Occupy the first trophic level. Okay, first trophic level. Second trophic level occupy primary consumers, which are all the herbivores. Then third trophic level by secondary consumers, which are all primary carnivores. Fourth trophic level by the tertiary consumers, which are all secondary carnivores. That is the order. Now you go to that. Tertiary consumer. Who is a tertiary consumer? Tertiary consumer is a top carnivore, set. And who is? Man can occupy all trophic level except the first one. Okay. Then secondary consumer. It is secondary consumer which is occupied the third trophic level. Okay. So who is that? It's a primary carnivore. Okay. So this will be the secondary consumer. Who is a secondary consumer? Secondary consumer are fishes, birds. It cannot be phytoplankton because phytoplanktons are the producers. Okay, so primary producers. Who is a primary consumer? Primary consumer is a occupying second trophic level. It's a herbivore. Who is a herbivore? They are all zooplanktons. They feed on phytoplanktons. So they can be the primary consumers. Okay, so primary consumers are herbivores. Okay, and who is a primary producer? Primary producer occupy always the first trophic level. They are the autotrophic plants. They are all the phytoplanktons. Okay, so they are all occupying the first trophic level, and examples are phytoplanktons. Is that clear? first, second, third, fourth trophic level. Okay. Producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. Autotrophs, herbivores, primary carnivore. So primary carnivore is secondary consumer occupying the third trophic level. Secondary carnivore is the tertiary carnivore occupying the fourth trophic level. Understand? Very good. Same. A food web is more realistic than a food chain. In nature, we are having omnivores, which will be connecting different food chains together. So in nature, we have more food webs. That is more realistic. Okay. So food web is more realistic than a food chain for showing the food relationship in ecosystems, because the producers are usually eaten by more different consumers, and most consumers are eaten by more than one producer. You can see it. Okay. It need not always be in a straight chain. No. Even man, a crow, they can occupy a bird. Sometimes it can eat a worm, sometimes a bird can eat a seed. So it can occupy different trophic levels. Similarly, man, sometimes we may be eating plant material directly, sometimes we may be occupying the second trophic level, sometimes we may be occupying the fourth trophic level. We are all having different feeding habits. Okay, because of that, we occupy more than one trophic level simultaneously. And because of this feature, food chains are all interconnected to form food webs. Correct? So producers are usually eaten by many different consumers, and most consumers are eaten by more than one producers. Primary, we have done this question earlier. Primary productivity depends upon plant species, variety of environmental factors, availability of nutrients, photosynthetic capacity. Again, all of this. Which one of the following process during decomposition is correctly described? See, decomposition takes place in different ways. There are 5 events. The raw material for decomposition is detritus. It is called detritus. On this detritus, 3 events are simultaneously, that is fragmentation, leaching, and catabolism, simultaneously occurring on detritus. Okay, now they will be converted into materials and soil. So the remaining 2 processes are events are taking place in soil. What are they? Humification, so that humus is formed. Second one is mineralization. See, humus is converted into minerals, so that inorganic minerals, okay, carbon dioxide, water, etc. are released. So these are the events that are occurring during decomposition. Remember, decomposition is an aerobic process. Catabolism, last step. No, catabolism is one of the 3 steps that are occurring simultaneously on detritus. Leaching, water-soluble organic nutrients, not inorganic. They are going deep into layers of horizons of soil horizons, and become unavailable, not rising to the top. Fragmentation, carried out by organisms such as earthworm. They are all eating. They are called detritivores. So we are having detritivores causing fragmentation. So these fragmentation, leaching, and catabolism are simultaneously occurring on detritus. And humidification, mineralization are taking place on the soil. Humidification leads to the accumulation of a dark colored amorphous substance which undergoes microbial action very slowly. Because it is amorphous material, it will resist bacterial action. So humus will be undergoing bacterial action very slowly. That's why the nutrients are all available in the soil for longer term. So humus is very ideal because nutrients are remaining in the soil for long term. Mineralization. Humus is degraded by some microbes with the release of inorganic nutrients, not organic. Okay, you can see them. These green leaves that are falling, they may be eaten by, okay, detritivore. This become the detritus. What is detritus? Detritus is the raw material for decomposition. Actually, there are two types of detritus. What are they? Above the ground detritus and below the ground detritus. Above the ground is called litter fall, and below the detritus is called root detritus. Okay, which are all falling on the surface, just like the excreta, plants, parts like leaves, fruits, flowers, etc., that are falling on the soil surface are litter fall. And those which are beneath the lower level of the soil is called root detritus. Okay. So fragmentation is done by what is fragmentation? Large size decomposed materials are fragmented into small sized materials. So it is a physical process whereby the size is reduced. It is done by the detritivores. Clear? Of the incident solar radiation, 50% is for, see, we are all getting energy from sun. Sun is giving so many different types of radiations, and of these, very small percentages reaching the Earth's atmosphere, and what energy is reaching is called incident solar radiation, and 50% of it is available for plants. It is called PAR. The remaining 50% is lost. They are scattered or absorbed or reflected back to the atmosphere. Okay. Of that 50%, only 2 to 10% is available. Sorry. Of that 50% of power, 2 to 10% is available and utilized by the plants. 2 to 10% of the power is captured and small amount of energy is sustaining the entire world. Clear? So this is 2 to 10%, and of that 2 to 10% which is used for GPP, they will be roughly 8 to 1.2 to 8. That will be converted into the NPP. The other will be lost as respiration. Choose the wrong statement from the following. Energy flow is unidirectional. Correct? That's a correct statement. Always it is following the rules of thermodynamics. There is no cycling. It is unidirectional. Energy goes on decreasing with each trophic level because energy is used up in each trophic level. Energy is dissipated. All the ecosystems are interconnected by the flow of energy and transfer of material. In the parasitic food chain, the pyramid of number is upright. See, you may have a host. Number is 1. It may have many parasites. So, for example, in our own body, we may have ectoparasites, endoparasites. So, number is greater for parasites that depend upon one host. So the pyramid is inverted. It is always inverted. Wrong statements. Secondary succession is faster, not slower. Because there is already soil. Description of ecological succession, you should focus on changes in the type of vegetation. Why we are all focusing on plants? We are all discussing, okay, first it will be the submerged plants, okay? Then there will be emergence, like that. We focus on plants. If it is in the terrestrial ecosystem, hierarchical succession, we say that lichens, then bryophytes, then pteridophytes, like that. Why we are all focusing only on plants? Because plants have to become established. Then only animals can come. Animals are all consumers. So there must be available resources, food in the form of plants. Then only animals can come. When plants are changing, accordingly animals will change and decomposers also change. So in succession, importance is given only to producers, that is the plant communities. Okay. Hierarchical succession take place. Hierarchy means dry, extreme dry, where there is no water. And finally, succession towards mesic condition occur. Mesic means average condition. And the series progress from mesic to, no, it is from cirric to mesic condition. So that is wrong. At any time during primary succession or secondary succession, natural or anthropological disturbances convert a particular cirrus stage to an earlier stage. That's a correct one. So for example, if the herb stage is disturbed, the plants will be, the succession will be again starting from a preceding one. Okay. So depending upon the succession, whether it is on land or in water, what was the earlier stage? Start from a stage just lower to that. Okay. That is the condition. So that is the correct one. So here wrong statements are all A and C. So the option goes to box. Pick out the incorrect statement regarding detritus food chain. What is detritus food chain? Energy is derived from an organic matter or detritus? Correct. Generated in the trophic level of grazing food chain. It begins with the detritus. Correct. It usually smaller compared to that of. Why? Because in detritus food chain, energy content is less. But remember, in terrestrial ecosystem, major energy flow occurs through detritus food chain. It is usually smaller compared to that of the grazing food chain. It releases the organic nutrients bound up. No, inorganic nutrients bound up in organic matter. So that is wrong. So all of these are correct. D is the incorrect one. In relation to GPP and NPP, productivity of an ecosystem, which of the following statement is correct? What is the correct equation? GPP minus R is equal to NPP, or GPP is equal to NPP plus R. So gross primary productivity is always more than that of net primary. See, this is the energy used for its own activities, its own respiration. So what is left out after respiration is NPP. So NPP is always smaller or lesser than GPP. So that is the correct one. Most animals that live in deep oceanic waters at great depth. See, there is no light, so there are no producers. Okay. How the organisms are getting? They are all usually feeding on dead bodies that are falling from the surface, from the great surfaces. That dead bodies are falling just like rain. So detritus rain, that is their source. There are detritivores. Okay. Mostly there are detritivores. They get energy, they get food as rain. Rain of dead bodies. So when the plants and animals which are living in the surface layers are all dead, their bodies are falling slowly, and that forms the food for the deep sea fishes, deep sea organisms. An association of individuals of different species. So that is the clue. We are having 4 levels of organization. What are they? Organisms, population. population is constituted by the members of the same species. Okay, but biotic community is made up of different species. So here it is different species living in a habitat and having a functional interaction. That's called biotic community. Okay, so the different species, organism belong to one species, will be constituting a population. But a biotic community is made up of a large number of different types of populations. So interacting populations. So biotic community. Then we are having two major types of biogeochemical cycles, gaseous and sedimentary. So gaseous nutrient cycle, example, sedimentary, see, we are having sulfur and phosphorus. Sulfur and phosphorus are sedimentary because soil crust is the main reservoir. Okay. Then carbon and nitrogen, they are gaseous. Why? Because atmosphere is the reservoir. That's why we call it as gaseous cycle. So gaseous nutrient cycle, carbon and nitrogen, correct? Sedimentary nutrient cycle, sulfur and phosphorus. That's the correct. Clear? So we are classifying this biogeochemical cycle or nutrient cycle as sedimentary and gaseous, depending upon the reservoir, whether it is the atmosphere as a reservoir, acting as a reservoir, or the earth crust. Now, what is the function of the reservoir? They are all making adjustments if there is any deficit in the nutrient that is being cycled. They are all adjusting. They are all releasing and making the cycle balanced one. That's the main function of the reservoir. During ecological succession, the changes lead to a community that is in near equilibrium. Now, we are going towards equilibrium. It becomes more and more, and the final community, the climax community, is in equilibrium with the environment and will be remaining without any change as long as the environment is remaining without change. So it is leading to a community that is near equilibrium with the environment and is called the climax community, not pioneer community. The gradual and predictable change in species composition, that is what is called ecological succession. Gradually and predictable, slowly. What will be the next one? We can predict because it is in a typical pattern. Establishment of a new biotic community is very fast. In primary phase, no, it is very, very slow. Because it is during ecological succession, very slow, very slow. The number and type of animals remain changed. The composition is going on changing constantly, steadily in a predictable fashion. It is never the same. The primary producers of the deep sea hydrothermal vent. What is hydrothermal vent? In great depth, where there is no light and heat of the sun reaching. Sun is not the source of energy in such rare, deep hydrothermal. Then how they will be getting the energy from the earth crust? Because of the volcanic activities or because of the seismological activities. Sometimes heat may be released. Okay, that is the source of energy in deep sea hydrothermal vents. So ecosystems are, there is no sunlight. That is the most important one. Then who are all the primary producers? The primary producers are the chemosynthetic bacteria. You cannot have green algae, coral reefs, and coral reefs are animals. Okay, mainly made up of coral forming coelenterates, blue-green algae. It is chemosynthetic bacteria which are all capable of living in such area, which are producing energy out of the chemical reactions there. Which ecosystem has maximum biomass? This is the succession, phytoplankton stage, submerged plant stage, and finally we reach the forest, which is the climax community. So this is the pioneer and this is the climax. Okay, and this is having maximum biodiversity, maximum biomass, and maximum interactions. Okay, so a forest ecosystem, which is a mesic one, whether it is hierarch or hierarch, extreme conditions. Succession is leading towards average condition, mesic condition. So which ecosystem has a maximum biomass? It is the climax community which is having maximum biomass, maximum biodiversity, and maximum interaction. So forest ecosystem. What is niche? Niche or niche is the status of an organism in its environment. It was Joseph Grinnell who coined that term. We can simply say that our environment or habitat is our address, where an animal is living and how it is living there, what is the role in ecosystem, what is the profession, how it is getting its energy is called the niche or niche. Okay. So the range of temperature now, physical space now, all the biological factors now, it is the functional role, the profession it is doing, how it is getting that energy, what is it doing, what is the role, whether it's a producer, whether it's a consumer, whether it's a decomposer, like that is the niche, the functional role played by organism where it lives. It's a very good question. And what type of ecological pyramid will be obtained with the following data? See, in ecological pyramids, which is made of wood chain, we are having secondary consumers, primary producer. Always producer will be at the bottom, 10 grams. So it's a biomass. And primary consumer, secondary consumer, 120. So it goes on increasing. So always it will be an inverted pyramid of biomass. Why we say that it is a biomass? Because it is based upon the weight, dry weight. Always biomass should be in dry weight. So it is in gram here. So it should be biomass. Okay. If it is pyramid of energy, it will be never be inverted. It is always upright. And it is in joules or kilocalories. Whereas in pyramid of number, it is absolute number of organisms. Pyramid of number can be upright or inverted. Pyramid of energy can never be inverted, can be always be upright. Whereas pyramid of biomass and pyramid of number can be upright or inverted. This is the inverted pyramid of biomass, where in C, the pyramid of biomass will be always inverted. And coming to the last question, see, you are having different types of ecological pyramids. These are all upright. This is the inverted one. See, you are having the pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy. So many different types of ecological pyramids are depicted. Which of the following ecological pyramid is generally inverted? Just now I told you that pyramid of biomass in an ecosystem like C, or the pyramid of number in parasite host food chain, or it can be pyramid of number in big tree ecosystem. You may have one big tree. Based upon that or depending on that, you may have a large number of primary consumers, secondary consumers, etc. So pyramid of biomass is usually inverted in that condition also. So pyramid of energy can never be inverted. Okay, it can never be inverted. pyramid of biomass of forest. See, biomass of forest where you are having very big tree number, pyramid of number in a big tree ecosystem can be inverted. Okay, but this is pyramid of biomass, which cannot be pyramid of biomass in sea, correct? Why? Because the producers here are the phytoplanktons who use their all energy in multiplication, increasing number, their biomass is never increasing. And their number is increasing. And the newly produced individuals are continuously eaten away by the primary consumers who are all fishes, mollusks, etc. These fishes and mollusks are utilizing all their energy for increasing their biomass. And only after reaching their maximum biomass, they start reproducing. So the strategies are different for the phytoplanktons and the primary consumers. Planktons are all using their energy for increasing the number in replication or in reproduction, whereas these fishes and mollusks, which are the consumers, are utilizing their energy for increasing their biomass. So only after increasing their biomass, their number will be increased. That is the reason why you will be having a large biomass for primary consumers and a small biomass for the producers in ocean. That is why the pyramid of biomass is always inverted in ocean. Is that point clear? And with that, we come to the conclusion of the discussion of the most probable questions from the chapter ecosystem, which you have understood the concepts thoroughly and will be beneficial for understanding the subject, and it will be helping you a lot in preparing for your NEET examinations this year. And with these words, I conclude my session. Thank you all. Thank you very much.